And there we go. Welcome. Hi, Andrés Rose. I hope I got it right now. That's my guest for today. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here, Oliver.
Thanks. So Andres and me, we met on a retreat here in Denmark almost 3 years ago by now. And somehow I saw something on LinkedIn and we reached out and I talked. We had planned to have this interview a bit before, but you went to Colombia for some of your work, which we probably go into. Let me see. I told you today I try to talk less than I usually have done the last few interviews. And yeah, so we met basically on a ayahuasca retreat, and the whole healing plant and ceremonies, and that's why I wanted to interview you here from depression to expression, because I've seen many people with mental or personal soul issues go for plant healing, whatever it is, San Pedro, mushrooms, ayahuasca, and there's many more I probably don't know or never heard of. And you're working with helping them to integrate, but I want to give you the space to explain that. But first, for the people to get to know you, to break the ice, how would you describe yourself in 3 words? What kind of words would that be?
It's an interesting start. I think I'm an explorer. I've been exploring my whole life and looking for something. I also think, Latin American is another word that you can say. I feel especially now really more connected with my origins and where I'm from. And yeah, I'm spiritual, which is something that if you asked me 3 years ago, it wouldn't be the word I would use to describe me.
Okay, so that's something since we met, the spiritual part has grown in you.
Yeah.
And Latin American, I know you're in Berlin right now, but you're going to move to Portugal. Is this feeling of Latin America, has that to do because you work in Germany now and you're away from family, or is it something connected with this spiritual new awakening you have?
I think a bit of both and not only. So I am originally from Uruguay. I've been living in Germany, as you say correctly, for 7.5 years. I came to realize through my plant medicine work and different other modalities that one of the big reasons I was I choose or I landed in Germany was I was looking for a place which was everything but what I was used to. I was really looking for a 180 degrees change, and that's what I found in Berlin. But then the years go, and I have came to realize that I really miss that, and it's part of my identity, and it's a part I have somehow rejected for a while. So yeah, now I do feel like a Latino.
Latino. Yeah, sometimes people think I'm a Latino, but I'm Swiss. So don't know, we are a little bit more open. At least I live in Scandinavia and Denmark. I have the feeling. So, but yeah, I enjoyed Ecuador when I was there. So, but when you say you wanted 180 degrees change, what's that? I mean, of course, now I've not been in Uruguay, so I have no idea. And I've been in Ecuador, I've been in Quito and in the Amazonian jungle, and on the oceans I've seen a bit. So of course I have this picture, so it's all rainforest and animals and
No,
green and
that's not
whatever.
the case. Uruguay is we're really south, so Uruguay it looks more like the Netherlands than it could look like whatever image of tropical South American weather you may have. So it's really flat and green, and we have barely I think 5 cows per habitant, and that's it. Like, it's also relatively cold. I mean, it gets cold in winter, like even up to 0. So we are not what a lot of people think of when they're having like Colombia or Ecuador or Brazil. That's a different kind of South America. And why I decided for something, what do I mean with something different? Well, like, it was not not about the climate per se, but about, like I come from Montevideo, that even if it is the capital of Uruguay, it's a place that, because I grew up there, and I grew up in my neighborhood, and it's a place where it became everything really like home and really stable and really safe. And yeah, so I wanted something. I felt like I had to explore something. And that time I was not really aware of why, but yeah, I ended in Berlin, Germany, it was complete the other side of the coin. And that was great. That was great.
Yeah, so I guess the culture is quite different. The German culture more.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call Berlin like a German city per se, but there is so many things happening here, and there is so much, everything, whatever you want to do, however you want to do it, in whichever way you want to do it, you will find a place in Berlin. And and there is all this, like I always compare this anonymity of the big city against, the familiarity of the smaller place, where everyone knows you and everyone, they take care of you and they care for you, but also they have opinions about your life and how you should carry on. And then when I moved to Berlin, that was a complete change, that nobody cares. So you have a lot of freedom there.
I can hear like you try to escape the given path from the people that knew you from your hometown. Kind of like you were probably afraid of going down a certain path you didn't really choose, or you couldn't explore. You say you wanted to explore the world, or
I mean, I wouldn't say I was scared of that path. I didn't think that was my way to go. And I actually didn't have any idea what was going to find. But as you say, it's just what does it feel like? Okay, I'm young, I can do it now. Let's go to Europe. Let's try to see what's there.
Yeah,
and that was it basically.
Yeah, now you stay in Europe, but you go to an even warmer place, Portugal.
Yeah, I'm moving to Portugal in a month after 7.5 years in Germany. I decided that it's time to go back a little bit, halfway back to home. So the closest I can find in Europe.
Yeah, kind of. Yes. That's the closest to South America is Portugal. Otherwise, you have to go to Africa.
Yeah.
That's not Europe anymore. And that's beautiful. Interesting. Exploring the inner world, the outer world, going to complete different cultures. So I warned you before for my next warm-up question. If you would be a new color in a coloring set, what color would you be, and why exactly that color?
I've been working a lot with green lately. Green comes a lot. I think because of it's not because of the plant medicine per se, but because of me connecting more with nature and realizing certain even ancestral things I have, and they were coming with the green color in the forests.
Okay. Yeah, nature, reconnecting, grounding. So it's your grounding color.
Yeah.
Kind of reconnecting. Yeah, beautiful. I had a lot of greens lately on my show. So not so many blues and reds anymore. We're going more to the green. And so yeah, let's take that question as well. Do you have any fun fact about you, or a secret that not so many people know about you?
Wow.
If you're up to it, you can
no,
also say,
I mean,
too deep, too hard.
I'm actually pretty open normally about things, but I don't know. I do have some for sure, but nothing that come up to my. Well, I mean, people know this because I share this, but I was the most materialistic, not in the material like buy cars way, but in the this is what it is, and when you die, and we're animals, and this is the only thing that is we can see. Kind of guy. I used to study economics and politics and history, and yeah, it was really annoying. And then in the last 3-4 years, my whole framework of reality changed. So a lot of people who don't know me from before are sometimes surprised to know this. A lot of people who know me from before are a little bit confused about the other part. But yeah.
Oh, so how are you handling that part? Because I have to be careful, right? I'm also going too much in the duality and whatever perception of what is and what is not, and the visual. So how are you handling this situation when you talk to people? Especially old friends. I mean, especially old friends which know you as,
As I said, I am completely open. I mean, since my second retreat, and when I realized that working specifically with some plant medicines, but psychedelics in general was a bigger call for me, I discussed this with my family. First thing, my friends already knew. I just share my perspective, always making clear that it's just my perspective of things, and that and this is what I believe and how, and try to go into discussions if they want. If they don't, I also leave it like that. I'm not preaching anything here. So, depending also, like, especially with my mom, has been an interesting path of her to get to understand this. But yeah, no, I've been pretty open for years already about the whole situation and about what I do and how. But I really try not to get into the topic when people don't ask or not interested in.
Yeah, but that's exactly. I can see it can be very hot topic sometimes for some people.
Yeah.
But so what was, you said, especially since after the second retreat you had, so what was actually pushing you? Was there an event or something you can remember that said, hey, now I did all this economic and history and politics and whatever, when I'm dying, I'm going into the endless nothingness, and I'm gonna enjoy life as much as I can because I'm the creator of my own life? And what happened?
Life happened. I achieved everything I wanted to achieve, and this was a problem. So when I moved to Germany, I thought, again, I was looking for the external kind of like solution. So I thought that if I had enough opportunities, if I had a good career, if I had parties, friends, traveling, and some money, I never was looking for like becoming rich or anything, but having enough money to live my life comfortably. And especially when you come from South America, we do look to these northern countries as with these eyes of like, wow, these people, they have everything, right? So I thought that if I could include myself into the society, I was gonna find something that it was missing. I didn't know where it was. Long story short, I kind of got that, and it's not that many, right? I was not expecting for much, but I got that. I had my own apartment in Berlin. I had a proper job which was paying, and I was saving, and I was traveling, and I was partying, and I was living in Berlin and traveling one weekend to Rome, next weekend to Paris. EasyJet generation, and I was drained. And I realized that I was going to a really interesting and dark place, and I didn't know what to do. So I turned, as always, to books. I found this interesting, from now I think, approach of this biohacking thing, which from a materialistic mindset was kind of like a good start into everything. And there is a lot of, I believe, not that amazing things. There's also some things which are interesting, like, for example, working with your diet and your sleep and different kind of approaches that are interesting. Then some of them that they are, from my point of view, just creepy. But well, there is a lot of everything, and there, in all that. And it was a time there was all this kind of like limitless kind of like, like a movie, and 2017 or something like that. And then there were some people discussing about the using of substances to like improve yourself, to biohack yourself.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talk about amphetamines, about Adderall and all this stuff, which clearly was not my thing. But then there were some people talking about LSD. And that's how I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then it happened that I got an opportunity to try LSD with a friend of mine, a couple of friends of mine, a couple that they are friends of mine in a camping. And that was a super beautiful experience where I really like managed to, for me, LSD has always been, at least those lower doses, a really good psychological tool where I was able to see things from a different perspective without actually losing my consciousness in a way, right? So it really felt like an internal therapist in a way into my head. I had another session which was also with a friend of mine in my house, and there we took a little bit more the, let's say, therapeutic protocol, where we were just inside my house and talking and trying to make different things. And that was beautiful and also a little bit tough because we went deep into different topics, but it was so useful. And I was feeling, I managed to resolve so many conflicts I had in my life. And I realized, because I just realized that I was making those conflicts and they were all in my head. So that was the point that I was, okay, there is a lot of potential for this. And then, yeah, from there to plant medicine, ayahuasca had been on my scope for a while. I had been really interested about it and reading. And then I kind of thought, well, if this is LSD, ayahuasca has to be this story. So I'm gonna, understand everything. And then that's how I ended in the Denmark retreat we met. And I always say that I went to that retreat feeling, being an atheist, which I just didn't believe there was nothing else but just human, animal, and chance. And I just came back from that retreat highly confused, I would say, where I really couldn't fit anymore the reality in that framework I had before going there.
Okay. So so you had like the entry, yeah, and I definitely can see your path, because 2017, you say. In 2013, I found Tim Ferriss, his podcast, and he talks, I don't know when he started, 15, 16, Wim Hof was 15, talking about 5-day fasts 4 times a year to improve your health, and then microdosing. And I think that was around 16, 17, I think.
Yeah, it's the beginning of what they call now the psychedelic renaissance. Right? Like, we have this. We have this research happening since the 2000s, but like I would say, hitting mainstream newspapers and stuff. That's what the moment that you have also like Michael Pollan's book came out somewhere around this time, and then everything's just unleashed.
Yeah, Tim Ferriss interviewed him as well, right?
Yeah,
plus others exactly around that topic. And I tried it with a friend, but it was just a very little dose, so I just got a little bit of chills, probably a bit better focus, but else nothing.
Yeah,
and I was just too scared of trying LSD more in a setting. So that's why I went to ayahuasca, to have some, more educated people around. Mm-hmm. But I didn't realize that. So for you, that actually brought you back with a complete, like, okay, new start. I had my life until now. Now I see life in a different way, new perspective, new angle.
Yeah. Already LSD was like a glimpse into that reality, but definitely was ayahuasca where I was able to. Like my first ceremony was, well, we met my second retreat there, but my first retreat was some months before, and then I had, like, if there was a checklist of all the things you read that could happen to you in ayahuasca retreat, that was my first night, and then my second night I was just purging the whole night. So that was my first 2 days drinking the medicine. But I had to do a lot of work after that because I was confused. It just didn't make sense to me, and I was someone who was a lot on my mind. I am still. It's something I'm still working on, but I am someone who is a lot on his mind, and having to go through all this experience and then being back in my apartment in Berlin, it was challenging. I couldn't leave my apartment for a week, I remember. Well, I had to actually to go and pick up my laptop, and then I just like, I left my apartment and crossed someone, homeless guy in a wheelchair, and just passed out, probably heroin use. And I was just start like crying in the middle of the street, and I realized I just cannot be in the city right now. So I came back to my apartment and I closed myself up for 7 days until I was brave enough to leave my apartment.
Wow. Okay. So it was a very emotional experience for you.
Yeah. It opened a lot. It broke a lot. And even like the first experience was not really that much personal, so it was not much about, there were some things about me and stuff. It's not that, you know, I revived like traumas or other things that people do. But yeah, it completely transformed my idea of reality. So then, you know, who do you talk with? How do you get back to ground? How do you keep living your word and walk up to work on Monday at 9 in the morning? Those were all the questions that I had in my head.
So you had no one to talk to, actually?
Well, I had friends. Again, you know, I live in Berlin, like here, like substance use is pretty open. So I was not afraid to share that I had done this. And a lot of friends of mine knew. Yeah, but at that point, I didn't know many people who have done it before. So I didn't have a lot of people who actually I could share and they could understand. And this is super important, you know, people who have been through the same experience, and they can, you know, maybe only listen to you, but knowing what you're talking about. And this makes all the difference. I had to call probably you remember the retreat center lead facilitator. I had to call him to talk because they freak out about some stuff. And he was kind enough to like have a conversation with me and calm me down. But yeah, this is also the first time I saw the need of also support through the experience, and how this can be something like kind of lacking in our society.
Okay, so and then you went the second time. Yeah, I remember there were like 4 or 5 of you guys which met the retreat before. I think just one retreat before. How did you prepare then for the second time? Like when you knew, oh shit, I was locked in at home, I cannot go out because I'm emotionally, you know, the whole thing is upsetting me, is disturbing me, is confusing me, and then you go again. So how did you prepare to?
So it was 4 months after, so it was only a month after.
But isn't it? It's okay. I thought it's like every 3 to 4 months up there, but
no, I think they have every month one retreat. But anyway, like long story short, again, I was someone who I got a therapist. That's the short answer. My family, somehow I always got a pretty negative picture of therapists. I don't know if because my mom tried to study that and then she didn't finish or what, but there's always been kind of, you know, this kind of thing. Also, maybe South America is also like that, a little bit of like, yeah, therapists are kind of like a little bit between someone who takes your money to talk and someone who, if you go to, you're crazy. So there is a lot of a stigma around the whole thing. But now I was crazy. Now I went through this and I was like, okay, maybe I need a therapist. Maybe I need someone to support me through. And, you know, universe wanted me that a friend of mine just rang my bell, literally, a couple of weeks after. And I say, I'm here. And he came up and said, like, and I was like, what are you doing here? Because this is not his neighborhood. And he said, oh, I actually have my therapy around the corner. And I was like, don't tell me that. Yeah. And she is from Chile. And she has experience with plant medicines a bit. And yeah, she was perfect. She saved my life. We started working together for 2 years. Then she became, of course, my therapist, but also when I was experimenting with substances or going through ceremonies, then she was also my integration coach.
Integration coach. There we go. And I guess we're going to talk more about this, because I can see this is a big part for you, at least from your experience with
yeah. So like immediately after the first retreat, I felt that I had this crazy dream, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and came with the idea that I had to do something with this because it was such a life-changing experience. But I didn't know what to do, so I thought at the beginning to maybe do a platform where people could find retreats, and then like you could like somehow put like reviews and like bet people who are good. And no, we all know that nowadays sadly there is a lot of shit in this environment, as in every other human environment. But here, because of the substances, because of the position of openness and is dangerous, and I thought to go that way, but then I realized that it was just impossible with my resources and what I was doing. And also that right now, if you want to find a retreat center in Europe, at least South America the same, and I'm pretty sure in the States it's not that far away, you can find retreat centers under the stones. They're everywhere. So I kind of left the idea behind, but I kept working with the plants, working with the medicines. I kept my own therapeutical process different. I reach out to different kind of approaches also in a way that I was before not doing. And in all that, I started finding out that at least in the academical field, there was a lot of discussion about this thing called integration. And this thing was kind of, I think, pretty logic from my point of view. Is like, like in traditional societies, they don't have something called like integration, but they do use these medicines in a sacramental, communal way, where everyone from the grandmother to the kids knows about this and have been through this at one time, or most of them have, at least right now. There is a discussion about how long this has been like this, but right now, this is what happens. And also, the shaman or the person who is facilitating the ceremony, the curandero, or whatever you want to call it, they are people who are somehow integrated into the society. So people who are around, and they also live in the jungle, and they have a different kind of societal connection with the nature. All those things we lack as Westerners in a way, especially in the north of the hemisphere, but everywhere. And I seen this, right? You go through this experience, which is transforming, and then you come back to a small apartment in Paris, London, Berlin, Copenhagen, wherever. You are there, you are having a lot to digest. You may not even have the most basic ideas. And this is the thing also, I think we were lucky that our first retreat center, they were doing a follow-up with an email with some exercises and some ways to integrate and stuff. I think that was really cool, especially when I start seeing that this is not that common. Not even an email is kind of, due. Normally, like most of the retreat centers, you go there on Thursday, on Friday, you have a weekend, they work with you. I would say that, most of the people I met working with the plant medicines are really like ethical about it and really like going for it. But then Sunday is off, and okay, goodbye, and you're back to your apartment, and maybe there is one share session with everyone, or they of course normally leave you the phone numbers. If you need something, you can reach out. But that's the line. Like, what's the line between I need someone or I just I have some, because a lot of times it's positive things. I have positive insights. I have seen a lot of things. I need to digest this. And this has been seen, especially from the academical side, where they have seen like a lot of the improvements and a lot of the, of the sustained changes in behavior that they found after like MDMA trials or psilocybin trials were due to this support, therapeutical or not, that people had before and after that. And that's how us in the Western world are calling this integration process of the psychedelic experience.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for me, it wasn't that bad. Don't know, but I'm also very head heavy, so to speak. And I didn't have more than this one ayahuasca. I didn't feel called to it. Mm-hmm. I felt more called to try Vipassana, but that's probably why I didn't try out ayahuasca, because I really felt like I want to have like this 10-day silent retreat to see if I can silence this little autopilot here in the head.
Yeah.
What will happen if I'm, in a room or whatever you are, sitting alone there, not communicating with anyone, through eye contact or writing or anything, right? Just be with yourself and have that. Didn't happen so far. Don't know if the universe just doesn't want me to make it happen. I've gotten twice the okay to go, and once it didn't happen because of Corona restrictions, and exactly the day before we should go, it was the restrictions were removed, but the course was already cancelled. Second time I had Corona on the day I should leave. Not that it was bad. I had 3 days. I was actually happy. Like, finally, we talked before about obligations. I finally felt like now I can just watch TV and just read books and do nothing because I'm sick, right? So I don't have to do anything else. And I tried to get there again, but I wasn't accepted. So I don't know. But for me, the integration there, I don't know. I didn't have any hallucinations. For me, it was all in-body experience.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not only like, you know, like, okay, and maybe I didn't express this great in the great way, because it's not only about, you know, like, I have been so much that I need someone to help me to go through that. That could be a way, but it's also more about like, let's change the way we consume these medicines. Like, instead of just, you know, go there for the weekend and, you know, suddenly you see this. And I was one of these persons in a way that, you know, these medicines normally they make you feel well. Like, you have like a, let's call like the afterglow. Like, it's like a reverse hangover for the people who haven't tried them. Like, normally after you consume and you go through these ceremonial experiences, you feel great. You feel great for a couple of weeks. Everything is great. You know, you're like a little Buddha there, like, you know, whatever happens, and you're like, oh, you know, the universe, and you're like, oh yeah, the Pachamama, and everything makes sense. This happens also to be the time that you are more open to start changes in your life. And this is not only like from a spiritual, psychological way. There is like neuroscience evidence that after they consume psychedelics from the classical psychedelics, like psilocybin or ayahuasca with DMT, your neuroplasticity becomes higher for the weeks after. So, you know, you literally get a window of opportunity to go through things that are somehow habits and somehow things. But this requires intention. This requires preparation and intention. If you are just, you know, like checking on the trees and checking on the things and everything, which is great, and we all have done that, and it's amazing. Sometimes, you know, if you want to go through these medicines for something else, or you get, sometimes the medicine show it itself, but sometimes, you know, you can put an intention on this, and you can see, you know, like, these are habits, these are things that I really like, would like to change. And now I have a window of opportunity. So how can I do this? Especially when the world is looking so shiny, we get lazy. We like that, right? We are a society that we like the highs. And sadly, there is a lot of people who just, they get a beautiful, I remember a story of someone who went with me to a ceremony, and he shared that, you know, he was feeling great out of a depression, dating for first time in 2 years. And that was it. He was healed. But then after 3 weeks, 4 weeks, of course, that just goes away. And his way of dealing with this, and I mean, at the time, I would have done the same because I didn't know anything about this integration thing or anything, was to come back and get more and get more and get more, until one time he had a pretty tough trip, what you call like a bad trip or challenging trip, where he saw a lot of the problems that he was going through. And then he decided to, you know, oh, maybe this is not for me, to go away, because he was using somehow the medicine as a escaping route. And this is not what these medicines are. These medicines are just planting seeds in you. This is something like one of the coaches who work with me, and now I'm going to go to that, share with me, like someone who has been working with the plants for a long time. The plants are like seeds. Then what you do with that seed, if you water that seed, if you grow that seed, if you take care of that seed to become a plant or not, that's on you. And that's the real change. Doesn't happen on the ceremony mat. The real change happens on the daily work after.
Yeah, I actually heard the same before I went there, right? I tried to prepare, you know, with the dieta and whatever not. No sex. I mean, that's in many different approaches, right? Tantra is also talking about not coming for a long time and holding it back, and these different ceremonies, this energy build up, which should help you as well. And then the part of the work afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Like afterwards, what you learned to, as you say, yeah. There's no other word to say than integrate it into your life. And I might have heard it about the neuroplasticity. I have definitely forgotten it, but yes, I continued life. I saw life a bit different. I hope to understand more. But yeah, actually, I started doing some courses after that. I don't know. It's very hard for me to say, have I been different before the retreat to now? For me, it was not the big thing, right? As I said, but it was definitely opening doors, right? When someone asked me, say, something has shifted.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to say what exactly, because after that I was watching Gaia. If you know Gaia, a lot of Joe Dispenza and Greg Braden, and mystical.
Yeah, the Netflix for spiritual people. Yeah,
all these kind of things that you're like, what the fuck? Okay, yeah, the story which we tell ourselves are not necessarily true, because it could be also a different story when you go many thousand years back, where we come from, like the whole chakras and the energy centers. I think I was more perceptible to these things. I also started Mind Valley, which I'm closing now at the end of July for some time. I said now enough after 3 years of the spiritual growth and personal growth. So I have to somehow shift again. So that all came after the ceremony, shortly. Yeah, I think like a month after I started, okay, I want to have this and I want to have that. I do not remember if I actually got one of them before. No, it was all after. So who knows if the reason was because I opened some doors and I'm like, I needed this kind of more spiritual approach of learning and teaching. And but I can definitely see the point you bring here. It's very important. Definitely. I mean, this should just be standard. Honestly, when I'm listening to you,
there is even like last year I was here in Berlin in a conference from the Mind Foundation that they organized here, and there was someone from I don't remember the name of the retreat, but one of the legal retreat centers in the Netherlands, a big one, that they are also running inside some science and trying to to check on these things. And they found out that after 6 months, the people who were still let's say feeling the effects of their psilocybin experience, they start making a lot of questions to see what they were doing. And basically the three things that make more sense are like basic techniques of integration, which is like yoga or body work. Second was like journaling, and third, speaking with someone who has been through the same experience. So it was not psychologist. There was also the option to speak with your psychologist, to speak with your family about it, with your friends. And the third was, like speaking with someone who has been through it. So, this is the thing of community, the thing of having some around you, people who know what you're going through, and they can just hold space for you sometimes maybe give you some advice about different techniques, but also already holding a space and being seen and seen. It's already a big part of it.
So these are like the three things which made the effect last much longer.
According to that study from Synthesis, was from Synthesis in the Netherlands. It was shared in this conference. I maybe forgotten something, but it was journaling, yoga, and especially the ones, journaling is a typical integration tool. Of course, the coaching thing is what we offer, the talking with someone, it's a different one. And of course, everything that is grounding and body work, it also makes sense. Nothing I would say that different cultures don't know, basically. Go to the nature, surround yourself by people, and talk it through.
What our grandparents probably told us, like, if you feel bad, and we forgot the last years. I mean, God damn it.
We have forgotten a lot of things. Yeah.
I mean, I mean, sometimes for me, a big awakening was the whole Corona situation the last 2 years. But we're not going into that. I just thought many times in the last 2 years, how many times did my grandmother say, when you're sick, open the fucking window so you get a lot of air? I wouldn't be surprised that some people in my grandmother's age or grandfather's age would have advised to go out in nature, even though you're sick. Right? I mean, I could see that with the kids. When they're sick, they're running around and they're getting good fast. And we are laying down with closed windows and whatever not, and we are sick for much longer. And what you to share here, you know, like after this experience, yeah, closing yourself in alone and just like shaking is definitely the wrong thing, or just keep on doing what you've done before. So what are you now with this knowledge, right? If this knowledge from the research from synthesis, what you shared with your experience on, yeah, especially the first experience you had with Aya, and then the continuation and the way you tried to get most out of it. So what has flourished out of it?
Well, I mean, seeing this, also I started being a little bit more realistic about the privilege I had to have a therapist who was also knowledgeable about this. And then I got curious about this and I started looking for it. And I realized that there is actually like a growing group of people from different approaches, from psychology, even some psychiatrists, people coming from a more, you know, like traditional, even shamans or neo shamans, from, you know, people from these cultures who have been training in the jungle, breath work, body work, voice work. There is a lot of different approaches to come and work through the same experiences, right? And I found they were out there, but what I couldn't find was a place to find them. Like you could find them in Facebook groups, you know, like we in this ayahuasca in Europe, whatever, and like, yeah, I'm here, this is my website and this, but then you couldn't find. And this when, like, you know, like my lamp light on, and I was, okay, this is what I can help. Like, I'm not myself a coach, I'm not myself a shaman, I'm just, you know, a regular guy who happens to work in an internet company, and, you know, I do sales, and I can sell, I can organize things, I can talk with people, I can convince them to do things, and this is, you know, like I say, I need to use this in a good way. And my idea was, okay, I'm going to create a place which is a community of people who are working on the integration. There is already, my point of view was, there is already enough being done by great people working in the underground. There are also some legal retreats coming up in different countries. So it seems that that part of the work is supplied in a way. People are coming and going there. Then there's a discussion, of course, of quality, but that's a different topic. I realized that, well, but what happens after? And what happens before? Why people are not taking this in a way that, you know, like a more conscious approach to it? And yeah, that's how the idea of psychedelics-integration.com came up. I have a friend, my co-founder, and he's like a technical guy. And I was, okay, let's team up here. Let's work on this. There is a lot of good to be done. And that was almost a year ago when we started discussing how to work on these things and stuff. We have been online already for some months, for at least 8 months, and since a couple of months officially we are a company. And basically what we do is to work with, we have coaches online who can support different approaches, so people can just go and look for whatever. For instance, well, all of them offers a 20 minutes free consultation call, so you can really like try and see what, if you resonate with the coach or not. They may recommend other coach if they see that, you know, for example, like whatever medicine you're coming through or whatever experience you may coming through, maybe there was another coach that is a better fit. Most of them know each other. They are all like people I have met personally or have been referred. So we're not really like at this moment, we're still just being kind of like a small circle of people who want to help, and we know each other. That's why most of them are in Europe, apart from someone who reached out, and I was just going to Colombia and I actually met him, and we rematched really well. So like the idea is, of course, to expand this. We're trying to work on that. Apart from that, we offer different things. You know, we have a preparation online course coming soon. We have already like sharing circles, which are free to access, donation based. The idea is just to have a place where people can do what we just discussed: seen and be seen. Come 5 minutes, share, hear other people, see and there's other people going through it. It's the basic thing we can do, right? As a community, just to be there for each other and show up. And yeah, so this is where we are working right now, and trying to build this up.
Yeah, so people which listen to this episode, so being either on the way that they want to help people, or they are going to, go for ayahuasca. But before we talked, it's not only about ayahuasca.
It's about psychedelics in general.
Yeah, it's about psychedelics, right? So that people know, because now we talked a lot about ayahuasca. So it's about whatever whatever you felt called to expand, or some people go and say, hey, I want to have fun, and then they shit. God comes in form of that psychedelic they used, and they're like, shit, this is not what I signed up for. I wanted to have a party.
Yeah, there is this term that Stanislav Grof came up with, and I don't know if he came up with, but I read it from him, which is called spiritual emergency, right? This is the moment that, okay, something is happening, burbaging, and I'm going through this experience that, I cannot handle, and I don't know what I'm doing. Am I going crazy? Am I like gonna die? Am I, gonna lose my mind? What I'm doing next? And this is something, that it's interesting, because if you go to the wrong psychiatrist in the wrong moment, they may put you on pills pretty fast on this thing, because you are maybe seeing things, right? You are maybe having a bit of hearing things. You are maybe, having some symptoms that could be categorized as this. I'm not a doctor, but this is, he is a doctor. He talks a lot about this, and this can happen with anything. I mean, the website is called psychedelics-integration.com. I think right now that's my road, but there are other roads. I always say these are like different windows of the same house. Like at the end of the day, we all get to the same point. And it can be with Vipassana. I met someone who really was off after Reiki, and and she came asking for a little bit of help, and I just did my best to try to ground her, and she was like that just because of Reiki. So it can happen. Wow. It can happen spontaneously. Like you're walking through the street and there's something happens, just poop happens to you. Of course, psychedelics are a little bit of a shock therapy, I think, for this spiritual path. Like you get it, you go there, and boom, mind blown, and then you come back, right? I think that other paths can be a little bit more incremental in a way, and that's why people are a little bit more, contained by their community, or by their practices, or by the teachers. Where psychedelics is like okay, fast train to Wonderland, but then you come back, and then you're here, and that's the work, and that's how like a lot of people are moving and are trying to these medicines because of the mainstream becoming of this. Some pretty optimist and partially true headlines we see in mainstream media about the results of these things, and also because, let's be clear, we are going through like a mental health crisis. People are suffering. They were suffering before. They are suffering now. We have 2 years of lockdown. Now we have this situation. Everything is just coming. It doesn't, in today's world, seems that, like bad news just don't have any end. And people are struggling a lot with a lot of things. A lot of them have been going through the more traditional paths for a long time, and they're desperate. You always see in these retreats sometimes people who are coming kind of like, last chance to see what happens. And these medicines are strong tools, you know, and if someone believes that these medicines cannot, you know, leave you a little bit on one foot, a little bit unbalanced, and that they can affect you, they're lying to themselves. This is not like, you know, like a rainbow and unicorns only. Yeah, it can be rainbows or unicorns, but then next moment you're like facing your worst shit, and like this can come and is part of the healing. It's part of the thing. We have to deal with our darkness side and our shadow, and all these things are not easy, especially if you're alone. And that's the idea. That's why like our kind of like motto is like, you're not alone in your journey.
Yeah, but I can hear out now in your explanation, and I love it. I hope I understand it. So it's not only if you took ayahuasca, it really could also be if you have a spiritual emergency. And the strange thing is, I mean, we planned this interview in March, I think, right? And now it's July. I've interviewed for my other podcast Martin Zoller, which is a medium which, you know, helps strategic politicians. Sometimes he works for both sides, and now he has like he works at the moment on 3 podcasts in German, so I could send one to you in case you're interested. But he actually talked exactly this week in one of those, one of his friends, he does interviews for a longer time on his show, that exactly when you suddenly have this awakening, the spiritual awakening, or whatever people will call it, you realize this, that there's more in one way or the other, right? Money system is corrupt, or the health system is corrupt, or whatever it is, right? There's always an entry point to this awakening. They also talk, like you said, this, if they go to the wrong psychiater or psychologist, they will be, you know, given the pills or put in a hospital. Yeah, because they suddenly, and it's this spiritual awakening when you suddenly open your third eye or whatever it is. And especially if you open the third eye completely, fully, whatever you did, right? Could be a yoga retreat, where you align your chakras and your energy centers, and suddenly like boom, or you have a Kundalini awakening like Eckhart Tolle had. I mean, he got crazy, right? Yeah. After his awakening. And you go to the wrong person, they will go according to whatever Jungian, Freudian, whatever psychological.
I mean, if you land in a Jungian one, you're lucky. But the problem is, if you land in a, you know, like easy pills, well, okay, let's calm you down, and that could generate a traumatic experience, because that's the thing. Like a challenging,
wrong, right? You feel
a challenging experience, a challenging trip, as people call it, well contained. It's still gonna be shit. It's still gonna be like a lot of work and a lot of suffering and crying and this and that. But then it can become one of the most amazing experiences in your life. You know, like looking at it in retrospective, like it's not change happens outside of the comfort zone, and that's a fact. And you know, as a society, we have lost that. You know, the people who were going through this kind of experience in a tribal society hundreds of years ago, those were the selected to be shamans. And those are they call like shamanic disease. The people who were going a little bit crazy or going through like a really bad disease, and they were somehow inexplicable coming back to normality. Okay, you have the power. You're gonna be a shaman. Even like in other societies, like in India, you know, like if someone, I know this because of podcasts also, it's not I've been there, or I consider myself so illustrated, but you know, like Ram Dass talks a lot about this, and he says that there, if someone goes, you know, into this kind of thing, and he goes into this saint, I don't remember her name, that was like just doing like handstands on her door for years, and people were, yeah, she has been touched by God, and they just let her be, and then when she came back, she became a saint. So these are all stories, you know, from other cultures that we have lost it completely. Now, if someone, you know, if someone starts being off, we are pretty fast to feel fear against that. And that's the thing, right? Like it's fear and rejection. And then it's easy to, before we were putting them in mental house, now we're giving them chemical mental house, which is something that doesn't, I'm not saying that these pills and don't have their use. And I understand that there's, you know, people who are being benefited by antidepressants and other medicines, but we have lost that line. I think we have lost that, you know, that to at least consider that maybe someone just needs a little bit of time or and contention instead of pills immediately.
Yeah, I was just, while you shared this, I was like, Saint-Germain or whatever, that was in Europe. Like, a lot of these saints we have, do we really know what they went through? They were touched by God,
Well,
probably.
we do. I mean,
Mushrooms. I've seen a documentary a year or so ago where a guy looks at the art for the Bible and the Christian art, and he's like, this looks like magic mushrooms, all of that. That's not umbrellas.
I mean, when you read the mystics and you read the Persian mystics, the Catholic, like the Dark Night of the Soul, that's something written by a Catholic monk, and that was basically literally like what's happening. That's the Dark Night of the Soul, waking up and seeing this whole thing. A lot of different saints came from listening to voices and listening to things and seeing things that they were not there, and then it was an angel. Great. So they integrated that experience into a framework that allowed them to continue with their life, and that gave them insight. And that's the thing, like, and this is the point, like, if people can somehow, and not everyone, of course, and this is why also it's important, the preparation. If you are, there's certain pretty clear, that every shaman or facilitator that respects itself should go through, which is like, if you are already having, like, for example, high symptoms of certain diseases that by definition you are unstable right now, maybe psychedelics is not what you need right now. So if you have a mental health history of, we know that, for example, depression, they could work really well. But for example, if you are coming from a family that has like schizophrenia or psychosis story, maybe, you can try something else that is more gentle to you, because these tools are strong. But if you're a healthy person, like, that goes through the situation, and you're just going through a process, as they call it, a process, and you are well contained, and you have the time to really go through the things and work through the things with different techniques, which are, nothing is new here. They're all religious and all spiritual techniques. Then people do go through it. And this is the people who really get transformation. The others are also getting transformation. The plants are working on you, and I'm a big believer of this. And I do believe the plants, are just, you work with the plants and your own healer. Like, nobody's going to come, not even the shaman, not the coach, not the integrator. Nobody's going to come and heal you. It's a different, paradigm, that normal paradigm we have, where we are always expecting someone come or something external, call it a pill or a doctor, to come and fix us. No, this is on us. We need to fix it. But sometimes we are not, we can use some help. And that's the other thing. And this is when other people come and they can be of help and holding a space.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I have a friend of mine. We have this discussion back and forth. And she's like, Oliver, we have all in you. I'm like, yeah, I know, after 3 years of all this, downloading information in whatever form it came to me, YouTube, podcast, reading, I know a lot, and I tend to forget because I do not really integrate much. I apply it. But then I also tell her, when you have certain experiences, it just helps to have someone which went the path before you, perhaps several times. So if you're in the mountains, in the Himalayas, I can go myself up to the top. I do not know how fast I will get there and how healthy I will be when I'm there. But it will definitely help to have perhaps a coach to prepare me, like, okay, the best way, what we have learned when you want to go to the Himalayas, is to train this and that way, wear a mask and be on the running machine if you don't have mountains, whatever. Practice with less oxygen in the body. And you have Sherpa, which are guiding you the right path, so you're not sliding down the wrong way. Yeah. And I think it's the same when you have this spiritual emergency, whatever way comes, right? I mean, we talked a lot about the plant medicine, whatever plant medicine you want to take. It could also be a frog or another poison. It could also just be yoga, honestly. Kundalini awaken, Tantra. A friend of mine said she went out of the body when she practiced Tantra. When she learned Tantra, suddenly, boom, she was out of the body. Right? So this,
and I mean, a lot of things could be,
and then having someone which went that path will just make it so much easier to integrate, and you will have so much more joy I think. But you still need to do the work inside yourself, but you will have someone to guide you along.
Yeah.
But you can also do it alone, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can handle it in this lifetime. So you might.
And maybe you can, you know, like, I mean, different people, different approaches. I had this discussion with many people, even some shamans, you know, like for example, if you come up with this idea to someone who is from for example, I was in Colombia working with the Taitas there, and I didn't even discuss this with them much, but they don't do this because for them it's something there, and they have their own tradition and they have their own, you know, way of doing things, which changes a lot from one tribe to the other or from one Taita to the other, but still, you know, that's their way they have been doing it and that's their lineage. So me coming there with new ideas, I'm kind of like a little bit of out of place. That's what I thought. But we are now kind of, you know, reinventing certain things here, taking and of course respecting and knowing where we are taking this knowledge from the indigenous and like honoring that, but also realizing that maybe just a, you know, correct 100% implant from those traditions into our society with the problems we have, which are pretty different in certain aspects, pretty the same in certain aspects because we're all humans, but also pretty different on the different aspects. And the alienation we have in our society is something that is just, you know, from my point of view, one of the problems we have, the bigger problem we have. And this is something they don't have because they do still keep these social and natural bonds with everything. Then we need to come up with certain things, and we are taking tools from therapy, we're taking tools from different things which are our, let's say, cultural baggage. And then I think this is the thing, right? We are what is being called the psychedelic renaissance, the second of it, because there was already one, and now we are like, you know, rediscovering these things, and there's a lot of excitement. I am one of those, but also, you know, I think we should be cautious, and we should also be like mindful about how we do these things and how we take the steps, and be super aware. This is not a magic pill. This is not a magic pill, and this is not, you know, like a benevolent thing that we should only small by small fix all your problems. No, you are good. You are for a good, if you are gonna do it, and this is, you know, you said that it didn't happen much. Normally, you know, it takes some times to you get more and more deep with the plant and more deep, and then it starts getting a ride, right? And then it's an interesting ride. For me, it was a ride from moment one, but it's always a ride, and you need help sometimes, and that's fine. And if you don't, that's also fine. Like, we all have different approaches, you know. This is not like, I'm not trying here to say, oh, this is the pill for everyone. But if you feel called for it, to know that there is a possibility to work like this.
Yeah. No, but that one question I had as well, I don't know if you want to talk about it, because you talk more about what comes after the experience, but are you also, so someone comes and says, I feel now I listen to you, and it's like in the last 3 months, it's the third podcast or YouTube or whatever it is, or friends talking about ayahuasca, San Pedro, mushrooms, LSD, whatever it is. I feel called to do it, but how can I prepare myself to it? Is there something? I mean, I've also heard some podcasts, and I unfortunately forgot the questions, but that person went to the ayahuasca trip with a specific question. I think they had 3 sessions, 1 week and 3 sessions. And for each session, there was one question he asked himself. So he went into the session with that question to be answered. Is there something you would like, an intention, right?
Yeah, intention setting. Yeah, I mean, there's also like, we do work also with preparation. And I think, you know, like in a perfect world, people will prepare, go to it, and then take time to integrate and then repeat eventually, you know, like in some months when they feel, sometimes one trip is enough for 3 years, sometimes maybe they need more, but at least they took some time to see if they actually need more, or they're just running after the afterglow, right? The preparation is vital. If you don't prepare, not only could be dangerous, but also like, even if you prepare like only with the food and stuff, the more you do work with yourself, and I'm not, I mean, there's this like physical level, spiritual level, psychological level. The more you open yourself, the more you're ready for this, the more you're set on your intention, but this is the thing, right? The more probable these plants will show you and will tell you about this, and you will be able to get some clarity about certain things. It can be that you are just going there, randomly, and like there are these stories of people who are randomly tourists in Peru and somehow they in an ayahuasca retreat and then like, wow, enlightened. But like the preparation is from my point vital. How you do that, that's also depends a lot. I mean, there are certain techniques, there are certain ways of doing things. We have a blog on the website where information about both integration and preparation of experience from different coaches' approaches. You can also get a coach. You can already start working with your coach, because that's also like an interesting thing. It's for me, for example, when I was going to the experience and I knew that I had already someone out waiting to hold me and waiting to like collect the pieces, I was already able to allow myself to go deeper. I was not scared. I was just going deeper because I knew there was support on the outside. So this is the thing. This is also another point. Like, you're not into this. What happens if, I cannot come back? Well, you have someone who's going to collect you. Someone who's going to support you as long as you need. And that's already there. It gives you this. I know for some other coaches I have discussed with, that some people, like normally a coach from a coach perspective, which is not a guide, not a facilitator, doesn't offer the experience itself. So there's a big difference there. But I met some coaches that they have shared that, sometimes they offer to the clients to go, and like if someone is really insecure and really, needs support, they offer to just, okay, where are you going to have the retreat? Okay, in the Netherlands. Okay, I'm going to be there. I'm just going to be there, in the next town. And if you need, you call me, and this allows people to trust the process more and to know that there is something there. If something goes off and I don't feel well, I can have someone, because again, you're in a situation where, you're putting a lot on hands of other people, and having someone there to support you could be really important. Preparation is vital. And we are working on an online workshop now that's gonna hopefully be ready by August, we are expecting, where people could be, for not, because that's the other thing, and this is something also we all are aware, like our coaches are normally pretty affordable, and we'll say, like, compared to a normal therapist in Western Europe, they are, most of them, open to work for less if the client needs it. So far, we're going this kind of way, solo flying. We work on a commission scheme, so like, to be completely open with it, we don't charge the coaches to be in the website. We just charge them if someone reach out from them, and we do care about money, because this has to run and this has to grow, and we do want to grow to reach more people, especially people coming from like maybe like difficult situations and they don't know where to find help. But right now we are growing a community, and that's the main objective. So if a coach comes to me and say, hey, Andres, like, I think I'm this guy, I can work for free or for like this amount of money, we normally can arrange that. Still, having the time and the resources to go through a coaching process, sometimes it's a lot. So that's why also we're going to come up with this online workshop where people can just go through at their own pace and go through it several times until they feel ready. That's one part of it. Yeah, there are different things coming up, which we are going to try, to keep developing always in this direction to generate the support and the safety net needed for this.
Yeah. So I would say anyone which listens here and has the feeling they can help you guys with the business, also with the funding or with the finances, so you can run, because it's important. So please reach out to Andres, and because I can see it from myself and my friend. A lot of time there are people which go there which do not have the money. Right, so they save up the money so they can have the ayahuasca, and then there's no money for the coaching afterwards.
Yeah.
And of course, there's also super rich people which are called to do whatever spiritual growth, and they can afford it. But it would be sad that some people which really struggle in life, because they probably have been open and perceptible, like you said, they already have the antenna open, are and are probably a little bit on the spectrum where they are put by the doctors, the normal coaches and therapists. They are put like, actually you should take medication, but they probably are actually already spiritually a little bit further, and they struggle in life, and therefore they don't have the money to get the help.
Now, if someone is, and I want to make this clear for everyone listening, someone is going through a challenging experience before or after like a psychedelic experience, and money is an issue, reach out. There is my email is there. It could be andres@psychedelics-integration.com or info@psychedelics-integration.com. You can reach out through the website, and just be candid about the situation, and we can find a solution. That's for sure. Like, the idea is that nobody, because of money, and there's people who can pay a little bit more, people who can pay a little bit less, maybe people who cannot pay anything. We are gonna find a way around. Also, let's be clear, we are not therapeutical service. So it's not thought, for someone to be like months on therapy with us. Some of our coaches are therapists, but we are not a therapy website. So we are a coaching website. It means that you won't get, a diagnose. You won't get a therapeutical, no, even if you want, if you want to do that with one of our coaches and they want, but that's a little bit outside of the scope of our website. We are focusing exactly on this, right? Like the month or two after this, for you to work on this, and with some objectives clearly of where you want to go. That's the coaching modality. We believe it has a lot to bring to the psychedelic experience, and of course there are different approaches, and some people will bring some more therapeutical tools or not, but it's not a therapy service, right? Like,
okay, coaching, sorry. But anyway, anyone which wants to support it, I think you can also use that. Anyone which wants to spend some some extra money for helping and says, hey, so Anders and his team, they want to help people which cannot afford it. I put in some support. That's awesome. Now I don't know. We had a really great talk, and I'm like, should I ask? Should I not ask? Because in the end, it's I plan to put it on from depression to expression, but so the question for me is like, which is on my tongue, is like, what is depression? How do you look at depression now with the experience you have in life?
So which one? Well, I'm not qualified in any way to make any relevant opinion, but my own opinion.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I think the closest I've been to depression was actually linked, funnily, with anxiety, because I think they're like two sides of the same coin. At least in my case, they were like that. So my depression manifested itself in like going from like swing moods, but mostly being like really proactive and really busy myself to not do anything and not think, but because when I was stopping, that's where I was feeling it, and I couldn't think. I don't think I was too deep into it, and I managed to get out on my own, basically, with the medicines. But I think it's a crisis. I think a lot of people are, because of this alienation, because of different social issues, natural issues, but overall because of this lack of community we have. This is for me at least my mission, right? To bring community, to bring like, how can we build back to this, small communities where people know each other, and of course with all the modern things. But I think this could be, like an answer for this. People are lonely. People are not finding someone to support them, and I think this has to do a bit with the great crisis we have, right? And it's not only like societal, also like natural, right? Like alienated from nature, from the land, from the Pachamama. All these things are from the spirits, alienated from our religion also. Like, we have been through this. I'm also not the biggest fan of the church by far, but I think we have kind of like overreacted that every spirituality or thing has to be like like excruciated and taken off society. It's like, we are spiritual beings. I mean, I was trying to convince myself for a long time that we were not, but we are spiritual beings, and we need to find a healthy spirituality. Yes, without jerkies, without big institutions, without a lot of things. I don't believe there a big spirituality that is settled for these small communities to build up around it. And I think this is something that, you know, we're trying to push a bit. Not everyone, again, maybe some of my coaches are listening to me, you know, some of them are coming from a way more secular. And if you want to find someone who is, you know, like a doctor, a psychologist, or someone who's going to come with a more secular approach, you will find that too. The idea is, again, I don't believe in absolutes. You know, I'm a bit scared when someone says to me like, this is their way. No, this is our way. And then what you find or not, what resonates with you, that's your job to do.
Yeah, beautiful. It's a crisis. Yeah, yeah. So what is the opposite of depression?
Community.
Community.
Yeah, community. That's the thing. Connection. Connection is the opposite to depression. I think that's the thing, because like when you are connected, when you are in the middle of the whole and you see it, it's pretty hard to get depressed. I think you will have a lot of things to see in life to you know, like, and again, I'm not a doctor, and I know this is a medical condition, and I'm not saying that, you know, just because having community you shouldn't be depressed or you can get your depression out of it. No, we are in a crisis. This is a problem. But I do believe that, you know, the isolation, the alienation we have from everything in this society, it's a big part of it. And, you know, if we can solve that, then a lot of other issues coming with it, you know, inequality, global warming, climate change, it's called now. All these things are also coming from this thing, like this big, we have turned, it's moment to stop, to stop and think like, okay, where are we fucking going? Like, and why we are living in these huge cities all together? Like during the history, we had to, yeah, okay, the factories were there. Now they're not anymore. So guys, let's go back to the land, you know, like let's move back out to the cities if we can. And not everyone can, but some people can. And these people will bring also growth and, you know, support for other people to follow them. You know, it's what I see. I grew up in Uruguay in a smaller town, and you know, my whole family are cattle ranchers. Yes, they were tired, they were sad, they were happy, they were not life, nothing is idyllic, you know, there is not like this like rainbows and ponies again, but you don't see depression there. You see people who just, yeah, cope with the things and stuff, but they just keep going because the community is there and the thing is there, and they can't, the land is there, and they have to keep, you know, somehow working on these things and moving on. And everyone, I'm not saying this is perfect. Like I will be lying if I tell you this. There was a huge alcohol consumption. There was a lot of shit there, but you know, like I was surprised, to be honest, Oliver. Like when I thought about when I had my image of Europe, you know, from a South America perspective. I mean, I come from Uruguay, which is a relatively wealthy country to be South America, and I need to be honest, I come from a, you know, middle high class family where nothing was too much, but I never miss anything. So I come from a privilege myself, but still, you know, when you hear about not only the money you make here, or the money, the services, the health, the, you know, social services, retirement, the natural and historical marvels you have in Europe, the beaches, the mountains, the historical places, the languages, the culture, you are like, how these people can be unhappy? You know, you are like, wow, like they have everything. That was my approach when I was 20. I was like, I'm gonna go there because they have everything, and I want to be that. I want to be part of that. And there is a lot of things, but then you realize that, you know, it's not an external thing. It's not an external thing, because otherwise people here wouldn't be struggling as much as they are. You know, and then you go to smaller places. I was like, you know, surprised when I was in India, to put that, but also to put a more Western example, like poor people in Colombia or in Peru, like, you know, they're just happy with what they have. They're connected with themselves, with their communities, with their thing. Do we have to work to make them richer? Of course. I'm not justifying this, and I'm not saying that poorness is the way. It's just like, you start seeing that maybe the question starts inside and not outside anymore.
So the disconnection from the outside pushes us to create more on the outside to push away what's inside.
It's the
And
thing. At the end of the day,
further
we
we get
all
disconnect, right? And the
we are
further
all hurt kids trying to create. I always say, like, one thing that came to me when on a festival I was really high on shrooms and LSD, and it came, like, we keep creating meaningless shit to give meaning to other meaningless life. And this is the thing, like, we keep trying to build up. If I build up more, if my account has more zeros, if my car is shinier, if I get that position, then I will be important, because we are playing this role game where, I am pretending to, these are not my words, I took them from Rama, but say, like, I am pretending that you are who you are if you pretend that I am who I am, and that's how we're gonna play. And this is all the whole external bullshit that then you're like, when you find out that you just are, and this is psychedelics can give you 1 minute of that, maybe 1 minute, but 1 minute is enough to open doors, as you say, because that under all these things, all these personalities, all these roles, all these external things, there is something which is immanent and is there, and it just is.
Yeah.
And if you see it 1 second, then you can start working from it. You don't need much more.
Yeah, but wow, yeah. So the disconnection from who you are is the depression, basically, kind of, because when you're connected to yourself, you can be yourself and you do not need to pretend. But being authentic, blah blah blah, and then you go connection into people, blah. Wow, I love it. I mean, I was waiting so much for that talk, and you just put yourself higher and higher. I could just feel this energy coming from you, this passion. I mean, how can that not going to work? And this is so important, the work you do. And I hope I gave you the space to be able to explain it and share it enough, and also that the people got enough. And if they didn't get enough, I hope they reach out to me and you, so we can go deeper in the things we two did not see, which is missing, right? The explanations, because we're only two people. There's so many different variations of how people are struggling and where they need answers.
Definitely. We are two people and just building a community. So if someone feels like reaching out, reach out. We'll be happy to hear from you and see what can we do.
Yeah, and you can reach out from all around the world. Just because we're in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, no, true. Like, that's the thing, like, most of our inquiries come from the other side of the ocean. There's a lot of American Canadians looking for help. I think a little bit also, like, healthcare, mental health care in Europe is a little bit more accessible than in the US. So, wherever you are, and also if you're in South America, if you're in Africa, if you're in Asia, it's just our idea, is not to be a European source. It just happens that right now we are having this theory of, like, better to slow growth, and better to know that we're dealing with people who are really, like, on the whole thing. And sometimes you have great people, but you just don't know them. And again, the problem with the big community, like, if you don't have the community, how are you gonna bet someone? What's a good coach? And this is the questions we are trying to, like, go around. So if anyone needs help, or also anyone wants to contribute in any way, and I'm talking about ideas, suggestions, also we have a donation buttons, by the way, on the website. So if you want to donate, also you can. We'll be more than happy to hear from you.
Yeah. So to close it down, is there any advice? I mean, you gave so many advices, but is there any advice you could give to the listeners, or call to action?
I'm going to get really cheesy here, but just to follow the hearts, to connect with the hearts. I think that has been the biggest learning I had in this path so far, which is, so much we are so into our minds and our narratives and our things and our, more and more, and wait, and now, and this, and but how, and then you just go to your heart, and that's where things are.
Okay, but then someone says, like, yeah, but how do I get to a heart? Do you have any exercise, any breath work, any I mean, that's the heart that
That's a long path, man. There was one of the articles we had in the thing. The coach titled it "The Long Path from the Head to the Heart," and I think it's beautiful because that's what we're trying to do now. We are a society who is on our head, and now we need to get to the heart, because from the heart we connect with everything.
And you said that's a blog post on your website?
Yes, like we have a blog section there. There is a lot of different posts about integration, some history of things, who we are, why the idea came out, etc., etc. So it's also good because like the whole content there is written by us. So there is no like, you know, we don't have a marketing team, you know, it's me and my friend, and now we have some people who are helping us and doing a great job, but the coaches are a part of the community and the coaches are part of the system. So they are writing their own content, sharing their own ideas, sharing their own experiences. So you will be able to find a lot of things. You know, sometimes if you are a native English speaker, forgive us. None of us, well, one of us is native English speaker, but you know, sometimes we write a little bit funny, but the ideas and the inspiration, which is what we're trying to do, is like that. Also, we have an Instagram page where we post when we have something new, so you can also follow us there. Everything is through the website.
Yes. So if you can, you send me the link to that post so we can have it here in the show notes.
Yeah.
And the other things are like the webpage is called how again?
Psychedelics with S middle bar integration.com, psychedelics-integration.com.
Yes. And if they want to reach out with you, Andrés Rose.
It's only Andres at psychedelics-integration.com.
Perfect. We will put everything in the show notes on YouTube and the podcast. And whenever I expand, you know, have my artwork on Instagram and so on and so forth, it will all come there. Is there any you know, now I'm like a little bit lost. Sometimes I ask, is there a book you would recommend or a podcast or other resources for people which are now interested in the whole thing that's going on besides your blog post, right? So
yeah, I mean, there's so many. That's a beautiful thing of this. We were talking about all the problems of current society. Well, they have also the lights. The light is that there is so much information from anyone who would like to go. There's so many crazy resources. One thing I would like to recommend for people, like, you know, we work with the pre-retreat and after retreat or experience, some people experience on their own. There is a great resource called Fireside. There are great people in the US working with like online app that you can just reach out if you are going through a problem while you are tripping alone or with someone who is not there. I think they're doing a great job there. I'm a big fan of them. And then, yeah, books. There are many, right? Depending on what you do. There is one about, what's the name of this book? Well, I'm gonna try to give it about how this could be used as a spiritual tool, and it's written by one of the first pioneers of studies. I don't remember clearly the name, but I'm gonna send it to you, and then you can post it there. That's a great book that really make an impact on me.
Awesome. What can I say more? I mean, I could talk so much more with you, but somehow I can see my video starts to get green and red and blue dots from the darkness, you know, pixelation. You start to be getting blurry as well when you move. I take that as a sign that, I mean, we have been talking for quite some time. I think this is kind of like part one, at least. I'm sure there's more to come. And I really want to talk more with you. I mean, just this talk, it was awesome. It was just so enlightening and making so much sense. And I'm like, wow, there are people around which really, really, really from the heart want to help others to have a really good experience in whatever way they have this awakening. So thank you for actually
thank you, Oliver. It's a pleasure to be here and to share my part of the story, my little part, and yeah, looking forward to be back hopefully in some time with some more news and developments on this.
Yes, and other experiences.
And other experiences, for sure.
Yes. Awesome. So listeners, you know what to do. Reach out to us. Hit the subscribe button, whatever you want. Go to psychedelics/integration.
Integration.com. Yeah, psychedelics-integration.com.
Yes. And with that, thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.